We started to touch on live service stuff. Michael, let's talk about the other big game out this week, and many more are coming. And then, like I said, the next couple games that I want to talk about are things I got to preview that aren't quite out yet. But Marathon. I mean, Marathon's a game that's there's kind of a lot of backstory here, not with the game itself, but with the development of it, in the sense of Sony bought Bungie. There's been a ton of toxic workplace, toxic management, a lot of studio drama. Pete Parsons buying millions of dollars of classic cars, and
Jesus Christ,
it's
man.
just,
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, and it kind of ultimately comes down to, here is Marathon, an extraction shooter that's now out. That we can talk more about this after you tell us about your thoughts on the game, Michael. But absolutely. If Marathon doesn't work, there is a legitimate fear that Sony might just shut Bungie down. And that's not me reporting anything at all. Yeah. That's my own read on the situation based on the $3 or $4 billion they paid for Bungie. And anyway, talk to us about the game, because thankfully you have good news for us.
Yes, I do have good news. I bring good news. Sorry, I've been talking a lot this episode because I've been gaming, but that is the flow of things on this podcast. Sometimes it requires me to yap about games. Marathon is fantastic. I love this game. This game was so much fun. Granted, okay, I will caveat this. It was because of the server slam. I played primarily the server slam, which was their, I don't want to call it a beta. It's more or less like a finished version of the game that had a level cap. Couldn't see everything, of course, but it is them testing the servers to make sure it was able to handle the load for launch. And boy, howdy, I had such a fantastic time with Marathon. I keep using that word fantastic, but it is, this is a Bungie game. So Xbox players are familiar with how this game feels, whether or not you've touched it. You miss the shooting in Halo. If you love the shooting in Destiny, the shooting in Marathon is just as good. The guns feel good. You feel the feedback, the punch of each gun. The encounter design is also great. And the thing I'll say about Marathon that I couldn't really say back when it was supposed to come out last year is that the extraction shooter genre is more commonplace now, or at least I think gamers as a whole generally have a better understanding of the design language of an extraction shooter, and that's in due part, and mostly in due part, to Arc Raiders.
Yeah.
So the success of Arc Raiders and the delay of Marathon, I think, is to Bungie's benefit, really, because I think a lot of people are going into this not necessarily trying to figure out what the objective is or how the game is supposed to flow, but instead they're trying to at least understand the more detailed aspects of how you complete objectives and what guns are good, the meta of these things, how the different heroes work and their abilities, rather than trying to figure out, like, wait, I'm going to lose all the stuff if I die and don't extract in time. That part is easier to communicate, I think, now. And I think players that are more familiar are more willing to guide others to this, because I've small sample size, it's anecdotal stuff, but like friends who had not touched extraction shooters before were like, hey, hop on the Marathon server slam. It's free. Give it a shot. You know how to play Destiny. You know how to play Halo. You got that part figured out. Let us guide you to how this game is supposed to work. And that's because a lot of us just played Arc Raiders. And before that, I played a little bit of Tarkov, so I know how these games work. And I think people are open to the idea now, if anything. But I will say the three things I love about Marathon is that there is no other game right now that looks as cool as Marathon. This is one of the coolest looking games in a very long time. That's that kind of clean, sterile, futuristic sci-fi look, almost like a Mirror's Edge.
I was just going to say that.
Yes, it looks so good. And the cutscenes that you get in the menus when you complete contracts, that's how you progress in the game. The story bits they show through like these surrealist sort of cutscenes, extremely well done. So well done. And it does remind me of old Marathon, where a lot of it is cryptic. Some of it's a little creepy also. This game has a look, And I know that there's, the controversy last time with the art director stealing assets from an artist. I think they spent a lot of time going back and wiping themselves clean of that, redoing it, kind of sticking with the same aesthetic, but owning it a little bit more to where like, oh no, this is distinctly their work.
I love the color palette here, just to quickly interject, just from watching this footage.
Yeah, it's a looker. The contracts are how you can progress and complete objectives when you go into a match. And yeah, the gunplay is fantastic. The thing is, extraction shooters, it's high intensity. You loot great stuff, like great gear, and you want to keep it, but you have to get out of the zone. But there's PvE elements and there's PvP, and it is dangerous out there. The one thing I'll say about Marathon is that it is a pretty hard game. Even with the bots, like the AI controlled enemies, they are very challenging. And because ammo is scarce in extraction shooters, you need to be very picky and choosy about how you engage and when to engage, whether it be real players or bots. So I'm still trying to learn that part, like how the best way to go about encounters. But that is for us to figure out once this game is actually has some legs under it. And, it's going to take weeks to get to that part. There's going to be post-launch content as well as part of its release window. But if anything, I am so excited to keep playing this game.
Well, and we have a review so far up on IGN, because obviously there's needs to be more time on real world servers to really finalize a review. But our reviewer says, after 20 hours with Marathon's merciless PvP, I'm completely hooked.
Yeah,
so you
Travis
are not the only one here.
Yeah.
And can I just say, I mean, because I want to throw the floor to Miranda, because poor Miranda hasn't had a chance to chime in much so far this week. But I'm honestly, like, I've said this before, it's not that I actually quite like multiplayer shooters. I just have I don't have the time to really commit to them anymore, because most of them do require a commitment. In fact, let me ask you that before I throw it to Miranda.
Sure.
Can I enjoy this in small doses, or do I need to kind of be keeping up with the loot and what have you by playing a lot?
That's hard to say, because so much of this is the best parts of Marathon is when you go into a match with your best loot, and you have to like kind of work towards that, because you do have to extract a lot of that loot in order to use it for future matches. They have like free loadouts that come with that you can queue in with, but they're not that great, and you have to make sure you loot good gear before you engage with that stuff. So it's unfortunately it's not necessarily a game where you're going to be able to like pop in, get your fill, and then pop out. I think once you're in it, once you have that gear, you can kind of like pluck away at contracts, jump into matches, play 30 minutes, play for an hour, and get your fill. But the ramp up to get there requires some level of commitment that's just the game. Yeah. So
that's fair. And what I was just going to say, as I throw to Miranda here, is I'm so legitimately happy for Bungie that this is being well received, because it has been a pretty bumpy road for them in terms of the development on this and the delay and kind of the public perception of the game and of the studio. So, a lot can change quickly with these live service games. Like, the tide can turn either direction pretty quickly, but for the time being, it seems super positive, and I'm just really, really happy for Bungie.
Okay, so I have heard such mixed things about this game. So it's kind of funny. Yeah. I think from a lot of press that I've heard, or like people that I follow, are really high sentiments, but others, so some of my team who are specialized in live service, who also kind of watch sentiment to just see if like coverage, what we're looking at, have heard that people really do not like this game. And I think, Michael, kind of going back to your point that people sort of have a better understanding of what extraction shooters are because the popularity of our graders, I think that's also to Marathon's detriment, simply because art graders can be really nice, and they have whole servers and they have like a whole community around like helping one another. That is not what Marathon is. That is not what a lot of extraction shooters are generally. it is really hostile. It is really hard, as you said. And I think because Arc Raiders has kind of made this like cool, weird culture around it, and the devs have really embraced that, which is great. I think people saying, "Oh, I want to try another one," and they go here. It's like kind of an immediate turner off, right? That's not necessarily bad. It's just that I can understand the sentiment of being disappointed that there isn't some way for it to be nicer, but that's not the intention of this game, right? Like, as you said, loot's rare. Like, even the AI, the enemies, like the bots, environmental dangers are really harsh. And that is also, you know, fitting with the story of this game, like the world of it. Like, this is meant to be a very harsh, hostile place. But I think folks who don't want a sweaty experience, like this is not it. Like this is, you know, as you two were just talking about, this is not a place where you can just dip in and be like, had my day. It's like, I don't know. 'Cause I think there's like this realm of PC games where it's like, this is all I play. It's like, I've been playing Dota for like 12 years, guys, at least. And I have thousands of hours in it. And to get someone like, and even at my level, like I'm competent, right? Not even that good, but like that's like the dedication you need to like learn something. And especially because it changes so much. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing, not again to say that that kind of game doesn't exist on consoles, but for something coming from Bungie, and I think people not necessarily understanding like the depth of that if they've never experimented in those before, if like their shooter experience is just like Destiny or something else, which is a bit more, you know, it's PvE. You're not really, I mean, there is PvP, but it's a bit more traditional in like the Call of Duty vein or whatever it is, even though I know it's different. I've played Destiny PvP. It's very annoying. It's poorly balanced. I hate it, but like that's its own realm, right? Whereas this is something completely different. And so I think there's maybe a bit of a shock for some people coming into it. And then of course I think there is some you know, fair criticism of comparing it against other changes in extraction shooters that I think is fair. So I think we're going to hear a lot of different things coming out about this, which is good, right? Like I think it's good to have these conversations to understand this sort of game isn't necessarily for everybody, and that's totally fine. It's for the people who want to get sweaty and like be in this cool ass world that has collectibles and a really cool story. And it's Bungie, so you know they're gonna have like killer names for all their weapons and whatever thing. Like the imagination here is just so cool in the sci-fi space. And I want to be part of that. Like that's gonna be really cool. But also I know that when I do jump in, because I didn't get time to do the Turbo Slam, which was really a bummer. I really wanted to. But I also know that means it's gonna take something for me, like, right? Like, unless they make some sort of weird mode that is just a drop in, drop out, which can be added in the future, should that be like of interest to them and their team and their vision. But I think that's sort of one of the strange things when we see these big storied studios making something that is very much not for everybody. Like it is going to exclude a lot of people, because if you don't want to be sweaty, if you don't want to take the time to learn the strategy, if you don't want to learn the meta, if you don't want to be on top of it, then you're just going to always be behind and it's always going to feel bad. And like that's just how some of these games are, you know? Yeah,
the real extraction in extraction shooter is extracting your damn soul, because it's so god damn. But
it can be so fun to get in those games. It's just a certain kind of flavor of game, you know? It's very different. And so that's kind of where I come from it, of like understanding, like, do I want to get sweaty? Do I want to like sit up every time, you know, like ultra focused, taking notes, learning, you know, watching the videos, like, getting into the depth, you know? But that's not for everybody. I think Arc Raiders has like skewed that just a little bit. But also that's why it's great that we have Arc Raiders. That's great that it's just like a kind, like welcoming, hey, you need help, or like, but not necessarily always that way. But it's so cool that exists in this space as well. And so I can kind of see where that is going.
The one thing I'll say about why I think Marathon is a lot sweatier than maybe Arc Raiders is because, I won't say to its detriment, but because the shooting feels so good and because the guns are so cool, I want to use them. If I see other players like, oh my god, I got my kitted out sniper rifle, You damn right I'm gonna use it. What are you talking about? Whereas Arc Raiders isn't so shooter emphasis. Like, it's a shooter, yes, I know, but the emphasis isn't necessarily in the gunplay of the game. Like, that is a core part of it, but it is not on the same level as a Bungie game, right? So in Arc Raiders, I'm more willing to kind of play the social game, whereas I jump into Marathon, like, no, I'm ready to shoot. I'm ready to go. I want that action. So it's a slight difference there that I think is going to skew the sort of way you engage with other players in these games.
$40 on this, right, Michael?
Yes, $40,
which is the same as Arc Raiders, I believe, isn't it? Yeah. So I guess for me, I mean, I don't want to immediately turn it into a, well, okay, the game is great, but conversation. But I think it's fair to bring up, like, again, given the drama and the bit of turbulence with Bungie over the last couple of years, I wonder what success looks like for Marathon, because the answer to that question has a significant impact on well, it's certainly the future of the game, but also the future of the studio, because, it's not that Destiny just keeled over and died, but, Destiny has been going a long time and been the benchmark for live service games that a lot of other games have chased and fallen on their faces trying to emulate. Look at Rocksteady and Suicide Squad as one of the most tragic, high-profile examples. But Destiny is not where it was 5 years ago. And so it does lead me to wonder, like, last I knew, Bungie was a huge studio in terms of headcount. Like, I want to, maybe like 800 people. Like, it's, last I knew, again, I'm maybe that's changed, but it's last I knew, it was just a really, really, really big studio, a lot of people, and thus the overhead's really high, the cost to run Bungie's really high. And so I hope Marathon can continue to be a success as a game and will thus continue to allow Bungie to keep doing its thing and keep creating and keep making games. Because if Sony ever, I mean, Sony just friggin' closed Blue Point, which is one of the most insane, head-scratching, shocking moves ever in the games industry. And so it's I can't put it past them to just say, you know what, we're gonna fold our hand here, even though we paid billions of dollars for Bungie, we're not seeing the return. So I hope that the bar for success for Marathon isn't unattainably high for Bungie. That's, I guess, what I want to say.
Yeah, that's such a great question too, because as someone who was, like, in and out of Destiny, I think I got really into it later in its life. Like, Final Shape, fantastic. Like, phenomenal storytelling, just so fun. And then the ship crashed and burned. And a big part was, like, they laid off a lot of people. They kind of cut down, I think, on teams. You could see how they were, like, scrambling to shift how they released content for it. And that game has not been in the same place. I mean, like, it's hard. It's really hard to see that game just, like, kind of slowly just in its, like, death spiral. And I don't know what they do to pull it out of that. Still playable. They're still doing things for it.
It's
they had the Star Wars DLC
for a new player.
Yeah,
arguably.
But the way that they've also, like, sunsetted a lot of content, there's things you just, like, you've paid for. You cannot actually get to certain places. Like, they have to, like, shift things around. Like, there's been a lot of really unpopular decisions they've made, and some good quality of life things, but ultimately, like, it's just not really what it was. And I don't know how they right that ship, especially if it's such a big part of Bungie. And, kind of putting it next to Marathon and how they're really relying on that. I think it adds up a lot of questions there of, like, how do these games simultaneously exist? And exactly as you're saying, Ryan, does Marathon carry some of that weight that Destiny is kind of faltering on?
Yeah. But
go ahead, Michael.
It's hard because I think Destiny 2 had a shelf life. I don't think it was necessarily meant to be a forever game. And like the final, when you play the final shape, you're like, yeah, this is can be your conclusion to Destiny 2. It doesn't have to go on beyond this. It's been almost 9 years since Destiny 2 has been around. 12 if you're counting since Destiny 1. But like, I don't know if it was built to be a forever game. It kind of like fumbled its way into becoming a forever game and the expectation of being a forever game. But like, yeah, after Final Shape, I'm like, yeah, if this is all there is to Destiny 2, so be it. Cool. Like I had my fill. Sometimes you just run out of gas, and that's fine. But you kind of, I think the industry's expectations now with games like this, with service games, it's like, it's got to be a money printing machine, so you better print that money with it. So I think they're in a difficult spot with it.
Yeah, I mean, that they've also opened up a whole new branch of its story, and it's kind of in a weird spot even there for storytelling. Like, it's hard to catch up. It's just a little bit confusing. The way they were doing their season release with story stuff was just not fun. Like, it was just really easy to get through that content so fast. And then it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll wait another 2 weeks, like, or whatever it was at the time. And so it is in a strange place. So I guess, yeah, just kind of coming back to it, I am really concerned to see if like Marathon, this game that is made for a very specific kind of person, is going to like
have to shoulder
has like impossible success metrics, right?
Yeah.
And to both of your points, my concern as a longtime fan of Bungie, even though again, like what they've been making recently isn't so much for me anymore, and that's okay. But if they did decide, circling back to our Resident Evil conversation earlier, of, you know what, let's make a lower risk, smaller budget, smaller scope, like let's make a single player thing, which they were real good at in the Halo years. Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach. They made a whole bunch of great single player Halo games. I mean, the multiplayer were also amazing too, but the thing is, I mean, I don't work there. I can't say this with any sort of certainty, but what I can say is that studio now, and this has been the case for a decade or more, they are literally built in terms of the talent working there, their engine, their infrastructure, like everything about Bungie is oriented around these live service games. So again, I'm not saying they absolutely can't. It's impossible for them to say, okay, let's try a smaller scope single player thing here, getting back to our roots a little bit. But it does seem like that would be a tough pivot for the studio to make, given that their entire technology platform, like their engine, everything is geared toward making live service online stuff. So that's where I think my concern comes in about, can Marathon be successful enough with that high pressure that comes with a live service game to be successful? I mean, this is an old example now, but I always think about Lionhead. Lionhead didn't die specifically because of Fable Legends, the horrifically conceived 4v1 trend-chasing multiplayer game they tried to turn Fable into. Lionhead got shut down because when that idea didn't work, the whole studio, all the talent, the like everything was geared towards making multiplayer games. Like all the single player stuff was gone. And so Lionhead was shut down. And so that's what I mean when I say I'm still nervous about Bungie and whether or not Marathon and whatever steam that Destiny still has left in it are enough to continue to power what appears to be a very high overhead studio. One of the greatest developers historically in gaming, but nevertheless a very expensive high overhead one.
Yeah. Man, Ryan, when you mentioned like single player stuff, when you boot up this game and you go through the tutorial, it gives you like a lot of the lore drops and kind of walks you through this solo endeavor to show you the mechanics. The first thing I thought of, man, was holy smokes, would this be one of the coolest intros for a campaign?
Oh man.
If they took all the pieces, like this is not me, wishing this game wasn't what it is, but I'm thinking in addition to, when you mentioned, like, if you took the pieces of Marathon and made a 10-hour campaign out of it, it would be at the top of my hype list. Really, like, the way they tell the story is so sick. And I think that there's masters at designing environments that are conducive for encounters. And I'm thinking about a version of this game that plays like a Halo campaign. I'm just like, wow, I hope that this is my hope. This is me just making things up, that Marathon is so successful that they're able to do like offshoots of Marathon. They're able to do like these side projects that are in the Marathon universe that are like small single player things, or maybe like small other kinds of versions of whatever you have here, because there's so much potential. That's the thing, is like, I don't know how long I'm going to stick with it for real, because like I need to see what the end game looks like. Mm-hmm. But there's like still so many questions left to be answered as I play more of the game. But it's things like that where I'm looking at the lore, I'm looking at all this potential, all these pieces, and thinking about, man, wouldn't it be sick if we had a Marathon single player campaign, maybe a co-op game?
Yeah.
That would, because that was Bungie's bread and butter. They were so good at that. And what if we just had, or if we had like an offshoot that was like Destiny Strikes, where these co-op curated missions that don't have the same pressure as an extraction shooter. Like, I hope that there are versions of Marathon that aren't necessarily beholden to the extraction shooter genre, even if that is the main core piece of this game. But that's just me. I mean, throwing pennies into a fountain, wishing for it.
Yeah, to that point too, it makes me think of things like Deadlock, which I've been getting into. Yeah. Which is Valve's like lane-based shooter. It's like a MOBA, but it's a shooter. It's really weird. But they added this mode that's like really short. So instead of matches taking like 40 minutes, it's like 10 or something. So it's meant to be like really quick, get in, get out, try things out. Everything's accelerated. And that's a place where you can get kind of sweaty, but also you can just kind of mess around. And it's like really freeing to not necessarily have to think about some of the mechanics you would in like the full version of a match, basically. And so I think that's something that could be successful for like dabblers or people who do just want to go have fun with their friends in this like really sick design can go have fun. Yeah. So also Tayo just freaking on point, always with the clips.
He always is. Dang. So yeah, give Marathon a shot if you need that old school Bungie game, Bungie shooter itch scratched. I would love to dip into this, but I just know for a fact that I'm just not. Yeah, I don't have the time to stick with it. That's I already know that about myself. Then that's a me thing. That's not a Marathon problem. That's a me problem. We've got like just next month alone is our two games I'm super pumped for: Replaced and Mouse PI for Hire, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Then you've got in May is Forza Horizon 6, which, by the way, I'll mention this right now. As this podcast goes up, we have the kickoff of our IGN first month of exclusive Forza Horizon 6 coverage. So tune into IGN all month long, all March long for exclusive Forza Horizon 6 stuff. And another game I'm super pumped for in May is Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight. Yeah. So I'd like to try Marathon, but I know it's not going to be it would be a fling, not a relationship, for sure. Yeah.
And it demands a relationship. I'm sorry, man.
Also, to say too, you can just jump in these games and be bad at them and fail and still have fun.
That's true.
That is an option. I know some people, and like even myself sometimes with Dota now, my relationship is I hop in, we're probably gonna lose. Did I read all the patch notes? No. Am I going in but are my friends understanding that that's what we're going into? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's okay. It's okay to like struggle in these games and just have fun with that as it is too. It's just don't come out expecting to like, pull off some sick shit, basically. Sorry for cursing, but that's kind of how it is, right? Yeah. So I think and then just be happy by the good surprises that happen. But I think that's the other side of this coin too.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Unlocked, IGN's weekly Xbox show. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to watch the full episode at youtube.com/IGN Games. New episodes of Unlocked drop every Thursday on IGN Games, IGN.com, and your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.